Good day again, grade 12s. We're on urban land use zones today. Yesterday we looked at two new terms, was centripetal forces and centrifugal forces. Let's just have a look at my silly way of remembering them. Centripetal, like a petal of a flower, so it's attractive. You see the flower over here, that's the centripetal forces. The other one is centrifugal, like fungus, and fungus is nasty and it repels people from it. So those are my silly ways of remembering these forces. Let's just have a look at them quickly. First up, we've got site attraction, which is that people are attracted to the landscape of the city. Functional convenience, the city is more accessible. Functional magnetism, there we have got that different functions actually attract other functions together. So, for example, you'll have banks and retail stores in the same area, sometimes even chemists. You now even get chemists inside some of the big retail chain stores. Functional prestige, this is debatable. I think it depends on the city. So this would be the advantage of having a location in the city, so it's a prestigious address. The centrifugal forces, this is what forces businesses out of the central business district. Congestion, the spatial force, that's one, too much traffic, that makes people move out. Site force, the need for a specific site. Your business may need something, for example, a large parking area, which you cannot just get in the city, so that would be a specific need. That means you need to move out of the city. Situational force, noise, pollution, and the dirt, and so on in the city centre often forces people and businesses to go out. Economic force, property in the CBD in the central business district is normally really expensive to buy and to rent. And then status, this is why I say it depends on the area, but the city centre is normally quite an old area, whereas the outlying business districts are more modern, vibrant, happening, dynamic. So let's look at the different land use zones. First up, we've got the CBD, which is the central business district. It's normally in the center of the city, around about the center of the city. It's also normally the oldest part. Highest land values, very expensive. It's very accessible, all the roads lead into the city. High-rise buildings, high density of buildings that you find there. Then we go on to the transition zone that we also sometimes refer to as the zone of decay. And this is an area just sort of outside of the CBD, which is more for working class residents, low income residents. You'll have high density flats, very small houses, but it's not a nice area to be living in. Then we've got two different types of industries. First up, we've got light industry, which can be found in or near the CBD. It's found near road transport, so the raw materials and manufactured products can be transported in and out. Examples are clothing, manufacture, shoes, electronic gadgets, that sort of thing. There's very little noise and very little pollution that comes from these type of industries. Other hand here we have got heavy industry, and these are found way out of town, sort of in the major industrial areas. They've got to be near roads or sometimes even railways to be able to transport the large quantities of raw materials and even the manufactured goods as well. Lots of pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, and so on. They've also got to be on flat land because they're normally quite large premises. The examples of heavy industry would be things like steel manufacturing, chemicals, the manufacture of machinery, that sort of thing. Residential, we have got the middle and high income residential. That's normally found further away from the CBD, often has a nice view, large properties, and the provision of services are good in these areas normally. Low income residential, buildings are very close together. You'll often find these close to the CBD as well. Facilities are not great. Service delivery is not good either. Buildings all look the same. They're very close together, like that. Then we also have informal settlements, and these in fact can be found anywhere. I've seen informal settlements on the side of the road, right in cities. Normally, the larger ones are found on the city outskirts. There is no service delivery here. There are no facilities at all. Very high poverty, very high crime rates. It's unhealthy conditions that people are living in, dense housing. Really, really not great. Then we have the green belts. We looked at these when we were doing urban climates, the urban heat island. So these areas are restricted as far as building is concerned. They're only there for trees, lawns, parks, those sort of things. They help to clean the air, calms traffic, even reduces the noise levels in the city, and definitely it reduces the temperature in the city. Then the rural-urban fringe. This is an area that has a mixture of both functions. The sort of things you would find there are things like rubbish dumps, airports, cemeteries, rifle ranges, shooting ranges, golf courses, large properties because the property is less expensive there. It's less developed areas. You'll also often find plots and small holdings in this region. All right, so those were our land use zones. Now we've got a couple of land use models. There are 3 of them that we have to have a look at. Just a couple of things we need to bear in mind about these models. First up is that they are models, so it is theoretical and not necessarily completely realistic. The reality is that most cities have probably got a little bit of each of them. General principles that emerge here, these are important. The first one is that the CBD is often in the center of the city and it is often the oldest point from which the city grew. Low income earners tend to live closer to the CBD or close to heavy industry where they're working. Wealthy people tend to live further away from the CBD, large properties, nice view. These models don't take into account things like social policies. In South Africa, we had apartheid that definitely changed the way our cities look, and also new trends, things like loft living. This is very sort of artistic to be living in a loft in the center of town and zone, and they're normally quite expensive. So those are not taken into consideration with these models. So here they are. The first one, concentric ring theory. Cities divided into rings around the CBD, the oldest part in the middle. Then the sector theory, cities divided up in slices that radiate out, normally along major transport routes. And then the multiple nuclei theory. Here, the CBD is not necessarily in the center of the town, and there can be different clusters of activity. The outlying business districts, these are normally quite far from the CBD. So that is that for these models. Thank you.